y'all. I'm Nikki, the crochet designer and yarn dyer behind Avery Creations and ALC Yarns. This is the first episode of my new podcast. I thought it'd be really fun to just kind of share a little behind the scenes and what's going on over here. I don't really want to go into a whole lot of details of like what all is going to be in the podcast and things like that, because I know myself enough that as I do something, I kind of learn along the way. So I know this is really going to develop as I keep doing these. I thought I would just jump right in and show y'all some of the projects that I'm working on and items that I finished that I haven't weaved the ends in on. I'm going to start out with the only like crochet thing I have going on. I'm brand new to knitting and I'm kind of obsessed. So I'll start out with what I have going on with. I'll start out with what's going on with my crocheting. Also, I feel like I need to add this like warning in here. My dog Zoe is in the room and she makes all kinds of noises. So if you hear some noises in the background, it's just Zoe. So this beautiful triangle cowl is a new design I'm kind of working on. Honestly, I don't know if I love it. Now, I love the texture, but I don't know if I like the size. And let me just show you what I'm talking about. Let me just scoot back here so y'all can see. It's kind of a smaller triangle cowl, and I already have a smaller triangle cowl that I love. So I kind of think I want to make this design bigger. Okay, let me just tuck the ends in here. My goal was to make it with one hank of my worsted weight base because this colorway is Jules 3.0 and I only had one hank of yarn of it. And I didn't have another like tonal or variegated yarn that I thought would pair well with this. And I'm a little impatient. So I wanted to jump in while I had this design in my head and just make it. So I think what I'm going to do is make another one with 2 hanks of yarn, maybe with a variegated and a tonal that complements it. And whenever I type up the pattern, I'll just have both options in there. So if you just want like a quick one hank wonder and it's just kind of a smaller cowl, you got it. Or if you want one that is a little bit bigger, you have that option in there as well. That's kind of where I'm going with that. So let me know in the comments what you think I should do. Another thing I tend to do is binge crochet. Anybody else do that? And one of my current crochet binges are these sunshined iced coffee cozies. I absolutely love these. I designed these based on the Starbucks iced coffee drinks. But I have a local like nutritional tea shop and a ton of my friends absolutely fell in love with these because those cups tend to sweat. And this keeps the cup from sweating all over their car or their counter. And now the owner of the nutritional tea shop offered to let me sell these in her store. She said that I could just put them up there and she would sell them for me. So I'm super excited about that. So I've kind of been binge crocheting those. They work up pretty quickly. If I can just sit there and crochet and I don't have to adult, I can usually whip one up in about an hour or so. So it's just kind of one of those mindless crochet projects you don't have to put a lot of thought into, which is perfect for me after, a long day. So that's all that I have going on crocheting right now, which is really rare for me. Usually I have several projects going, but I recently taught myself to knit and I'm kind of obsessed. I think one of the reasons why is with knitting, it's just for me. Like I'm not a good enough knitter yet to like design any knitting patterns and things like that. Because when I'm crocheting, I tend to feel like I need to always be working. Like I need to be designing a crochet pattern or making something with some of my hand-dyed yarn. So I have pictures for social media. So I just feel like now crochet to me has become work. Like I should always be working. It should I feel like crocheting should be done not just because it brings me joy anymore. And I did not realize that until I started knitting. So for knitting for me, it's just, I don't know, a guilty pleasure thing. And it's just for me because I enjoy it. Even though the struggle is real, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I think that's fun too. I will share with you some of my knit whips. if that's what they're called. Like, I don't even know the proper knitting terms. So if you're a knitter and you're like, girl, that's not what we call that, please correct me in the comments. So one of my whips that kind of just got cast aside because I found another pattern I wanted to try is this right here. And this is my first ever project with fingering weight yarn. This is my Japanese cherry blossom colorway. It's one of my all-time favorites. And I can't remember off the top of my head what the name of this pattern is, but I found it on YouTube and it's by Expression Fiber Arts. I will post the name of it and a link to the video I'm talking about in the description once this video goes live, because I just wasn't organized to remember it now. So I apologize, but I will make sure that information is in the description of the video. I only have one set of interchangeable knitting needles, so I stole those because the other pattern I found and wanted to try required the same exact needles. I'm not comfortable enough not listening to a pattern right now. So I'm like, I'm just going to do what I'm told. And so I stole those needles. So let me show you the next one. I also found this one on YouTube. It's another beginner friendly shawl. And when I saw this, I had to do it. Like I had to drop the other one and just do it because it is so gorgeous. And it's like a triangle shawl too. So this looked super intimidating when I watched the video, but it's a simple 2-row repeat. And it's also fingering weight yarn, which is super weird for me. When I started stocking this sock weight base, I was just obsessed with it. It takes color so beautifully. It is so soft and squishy. And I'm like, I really want to work with this. But with crocheting, I feel like I'd be all fumble fingers because I'm used to worsted weight yarn. And honestly, I've started using some DK weight, but I still feel real fumbly. But I'm like, you know what? I bet I could knit with this. So this is what I have so far. And one thing I've discovered on my binge watching knitting podcasts, tutorials, all the things are fades. Experimented a little bit trying to do my own fade set. And this is what I came up with. And I'm really liking it. At first, when it dried, I was kind of like, that looked differently in my head. But as I'm working with it, I'm really liking it because it's not a huge gap in contrast. It's just a subtle shift. So I really think it's going to look good once the shawl is finished. In full transparency, I have started and frogged this project at least 5 times. And I'm not going to lie, this last time I wanted to give up. I wanted to be like, you know what? Knitting is just not for me. I'm done. Burn it all. Not really burn it. But I had to practice some patience and some self-love and be like, no, you're new to this. Like already knew going into this project, like this isn't going to be a fast thing. Like it's going to take me months to do this. So I dug deep for the patience and I just started again. Really glad that I did because I changed the colors up a little bit because these two, as you can see, they are different, but there's shades of this one and this one. I had started out with this color, and then when it came to switching colors, I was using this color. And it was really hard to see sometimes, especially when this color showed up on here. And so this last time I was like, you know what? I'm going to start with this one, then go to this one, and then work, and then this one. And so I'm glad so in a way, I'm kind of glad I had to frog it a couple of times because I'm really liking this a lot better. I probably should have started with this knitting project first, but I kind of forgot about it until I just saw my project bag over here. This project is the reason why I went to the sock weight yarn. This is the same pattern as this one, but I'm using worsted weight yarn because I had a bunch of like scrap worsted weight yarn that I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do with, but I thought would look nice together. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to like make a shawl with a bunch of scrap weight yarn and just kind of see how it turned out. And let me show you what I have. So this is what I have. So I started out with just one of a kind variegated yarns. It has pinks, as you can see, purples, all the things. And then I worked that up, and then I started working in some gray. And I think that's really pretty together. It's just kind of a subtle shift. And I kind of wish I would have started that down here, but I didn't get brave on changing colors until I got to this point. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be brave. I'm going to do it. So I used all of that gray up and that one of a kind colorway. And then I shifted into another one of my favorite colorways that I only had a little bit left of, and purple. In all honesty, I'm not a fan of this pretty abrupt shift in colors. It went way differently in my mind, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to keep going with it. So that's where I'm at on this. Y'all, this shawl isn't that big. This is as big as it is. And it's so heavy because I'm using worsted weight yarn. And I like it. And I think it's really pretty. But I wanted something that wasn't so heavy. I live in the South and we have like a couple of cold days a year. And I really wanted some kind of wrap or shawl that I could use more than once or twice a year, especially how long it takes to knit it. So that's what made me take the jump into working with smaller weight yarn. Honestly, I don't know if I'll ever finish that one because I just didn't love it. I didn't love the feel and the weight of it. I really wanted something lightweight, but we'll see. Maybe I'll set it aside for a while and pick it back up. So that's all that I have going on as far as whips. Well, I say that's all that I have going on that I remember. There may be some like hidden whips somewhere that just are forgotten. But I also want to show y'all my new favorite project bags. They're called the dumpling bags, and they're made by Binge Waffle. The reason I love these bags is because, look, literally, it's just a big open area, and you can throw your project in there. And then there. And you can just put it around your wrist. And it's all enclosed in there. It's easy to open up. It's easy to close. And I like how wide it is because I can see everything in there. So that's my latest obsession. And this is I want to say this size is the medium bag. So this is a really good size for a medium. And she has super cute prints. These are reversible. And then I have a small version of it. I have my handy dandy tin in there. This one's really cute too because it has llamas on it. But anyways, I just love how easy they are, how quick, and I just throw it in my purse and go. Or if you're super talented and you can like walk and crochet or walk and knit, this is perfect. I'm not at that level yet. Honestly, sometimes it's hard for me to just talk and walk, so I haven't tried that yet. But anyways, I just wanted to share with y'all because it's one of my current obsessions. I love her bags. So if you've been looking for a project bag, check her out. It's Binge Waffle, and I'll post a link to her website below. That's all that I have going on as far as knitting and crochet projects. And I think that's enough for me. Like the knit shawls are going to take me years. Hopefully not, but they're going to take me a really long time. And the only reason I was able to really make that much progress on them is because I took some time off during the holidays, which was super, super nice. I normally don't get that much time off. And I think I really just needed that. I just really needed that rest and just to kind of turn business mode off a little bit. Now that the holidays are behind us and it's January, I am ready to go again. I have missed dyeing yarn. This is the longest I've gone without dyeing yarn. And I have so many ideas and can't wait to get back in there. So I will be getting back in the dye room tomorrow and I can't wait. Even though I have a ton of ideas, I want to dye all the colors. My first focus is going to be on January Yarn Club colors. The January Yarn Club theme is birds of a feather. And the reason that I went with that is because, you know, the saying, birds of a feather flock together. And that's kind of what I think about when I think about the Yarn Club and the community that we have built. It just kind of happened organically and I just love it. When I started the Yarn Club in May of 2020, I had no idea what I was doing. And I even told my Yarn Club members this. I'm like, y'all, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I'm just going to throw yarn in a bag and, you know, and send it to you every month, and sharing that with them and just being really open and transparent of like, I really don't know. I'm doing this because I had so many people want me to do this. And don't get me wrong, I want to do this, but I have zero clues. And it's that self-doubt and that imposter syndrome that, hits all of us when we're trying something new and scary. It's like, who am I to do this? And it's like, you don't know what you're doing. So my yarn club members, I just kind of shared some of that with them. Like, really, I don't know. And we all just kind of bounced ideas off each other. And they're like, well, why don't you include some extra little thing every month, like a stitch marker or things like that? So I asked a lot of questions, and I had a lot of polls and things like that to just really kind of get an idea of what everybody expected, and went from there. So I kind of kept that part of the yarn club, especially the first few months. I'd send out the boxes, and then I would ask questions once people received the boxes. Like, did you like it? What did you think? And I have been very lucky in the fact that I have a lot of amazing yarn club members that give me really good feedback, and they're also kind and gentle with it, because sometimes, especially when things are new, like, you just can't handle a whole lot of criticism. So I've always just been really involved with the community, and we have added little things here and there just to make it better and better. Every month we now do this scrap bust and square where I will go in, or my friend Danielle with a Naughty Habit Designs will go in and we'll teach a stitch or a stitch combination live along with the yarn club members, so they can see us crocheting. And if they're not familiar with the stitch or with the technique, we can show them right there live how to do it. And it's been super, super fun. And then everybody is saving their squares so they can make one big project with it, whether it's a blanket or a shawl or a bag or something like that. So that's super fun. And it's another way to just use up some of that pretty scrap yarn that you just don't have enough to make a big project with, but you don't want to get rid of it. And that is a really, really long way of saying that's how I came up with January's yarn club theme, Birds of a Feather. And I'm going to base the colorways off of different beautiful birds. I haven't decided yet, like, if I'm going to stick with just one species or just kind of pick out some of my favorites. But we'll see. I know it's probably going to be another favorite month because I feel like nature is the best color inspiration. And I tend not to like overthink it or second guess myself, because when you're a creative person, no matter how far you've come in your business or in your journey or all the things, there's always going to be some type of self-doubt, and there's usually like imposter syndrome. Now I recognize it and I know it's there, but it still pops in. So when I base them off of colors we see in nature, I tend to feel a little bit more secure in that, and I'm a little bit more confident in my colorway. So we'll see. So I will be focusing on the Yarn Club colors before I get to jump in and play. And I almost forgot, right before a holiday break, I played around with some neutrals. Not a big neutral person. If you look back at a lot of my previous colorways, you very, very rarely see neutrals. So I had a dye day where it was just stepping out of my comfort zone and dyeing a lot of neutral colors that I had in my head. Funny story, after November's Yarn Club surprise colorway that ended up being a neutral, I had so many neutral colorway ideas just floating around in my head. I finally had to just write them down so I could just think about something else. And normally when I have colorway ideas that just won't leave me alone, I'll jump in the dye room and just make it come to life. But like I said, I normally don't dye neutral. So I think I even told one of my yarn club members, I was like, I have so many neutral ideas that just won't leave me alone. So I'm not dyeing yarn until they go away. And I cracked myself up. But I really wasn't. I wasn't dyeing yarn because I didn't want to dye neutral colors. And one of those colors, like every single colorway had brown in it. And y'all, brown's just not my color. I don't know why, but every time I plan to dye with brown, I get in the dye room and I pick every color but brown. It's kind of an ongoing joke with my yarn club members, and they'll tease me about brown and things like that. So my yarn club members know that if they like brown and I have a brown colorway, they better snatch it up, because it may be months before I ever dye brown again. All of that being said, one of the colorways that I haven't shown anybody is a new collection that I'm going to have coming out soon. So I'm going to show y'all a sneak peek of it. I love coffee. And when I saw this colorway dry, it made me think of a coffee shop. So the collection is going to be called the coffee shop collection. I know I'm so creative with my colorway name ideas, but that's what I got. Real quick sneak peek at the coffee shop colorway. That is totally not normal for me. Those colors, like I look at this colorway and I'm like, I did that? What was I thinking? But one more time. But I kind of like it. Yeah. Don't tell my yarn club members. So with that, there's going to be 3 tonal options, of course. One of the tonal options went with one of the other neutral colorways and I accidentally sold them all. I meant to keep one and I just didn't pay attention. So that one I'm not going to show you. But it's going to be that like color right there. Like really, really light beige, tan color. So I only have 2 tonals to show you today that are going to go with it, but keep in mind, there's also going to be that other color. So this is the other one, which is also super surprising. And then this color isn't surprising because I love gray, but here's the gray. So real quick, I'll show y'all part of the set. There's going to be that light tan color too, but there's part of the collection. I'll have more about that coming later, but y'all are the first to know about that. I did show like a quick like sneak peek of it in my Instagram stories, but I didn't really go into any details like I have here. So I'm not lying. If you saw my Instagram story, I didn't go into details. So that's all that I have going on right now. Another newer thing that I've been doing is a podcast with a fellow indie dyer and friend, Cheryl with Hypnotic Yarns. She also has a hand-dyed yarn subscription box called Yarnable, and she's an amazing yarn dyer. It has just been an honor to be her friend and to see her business grow. And we met in a business coaching group and our friendship just kind of developed from there. So she messaged me one day and she's like, I have this idea to start a podcast and I really want you to do it with me. And I had already had the idea of a podcast kind of marinating in my brain. But again, I'm just like, who wants to listen to me talk? What would I talk about and all this? So the idea of doing it with a friend, I'm like, oh my goodness, yes, I'm in. So we started a podcast called Maker's Gonna Sell. And it has just been an awesome journey. The first podcast episode went live November 15th. You can find us on all of the podcasting platforms. So we're having fun just sharing some of our best tips and strategies for other makers to launch, grow, and scale their own handmade businesses. We take you behind the scenes of our businesses and tell you about things that we struggled with or apps and gadgets we like to use, just kind of all the things business. So if you're interested, check it out on whatever platform you like to listen to your podcast on. And it's called Maker's Gonna Sell. So that is another thing that has been keeping me busy and has really brought me so much joy. I absolutely love hearing people that listens feedback and just knowing that we're helping people like that just means the world to me. If I can take my experience and, the things that I struggled with or any tips that I have that can help you grow your business faster than I did, that makes me so happy because I just want other creatives like me to know that you are worthy, you are capable, and you can have a successful business. It's a lot of hard work, but it's so rewarding. And so it just means the world to me that I can share a little bit with everybody and hopefully help them in their own business. And Cheryl and I both are very passionate about community over competition. So I hope that we're leading by example and showing people that when you change your mindset from competition to community, it just changes everything. And it opens you up to some amazing relationships and connections that will really help you grow your business, grow as a person. So even though the podcast is not even 2 months old yet, it has just been such a blessing. Thank y'all for listening to my very first podcast. I would love your feedback. What types of things would you like to hear me talk about? Do you want to see more designs, more projects? Want to hear more about my business and business tips? Do you want to hear more about dyeing yarn? Feel free to comment below with your suggestions and feedback. And until next time, don't forget to take some time for yourself so you can just sit, relax, and spend some much needed time doing what you love, whether that is crocheting or knitting or dyeing yarn or reading a book. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, happy yarning.